Just drop the orange filter. We had all of our Acros die. I want you guys to see the creme de la creme. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Queen City Corals. Today we're doing a little different video. Today's video is going to be a vlog. I am here at the shop. It is about 7 o'clock right now, and I'm probably gonna be here for a few more hours. And honestly, this is my favorite time to be at the shop. It's so peaceful and quiet. I can run around, do whatever I want, blast my music. And I kind of wanted to share that with you guys and also show you a little update about the store, what's happening, and show you guys around about everything we've got going on. We are a little light on some of our Acroporas, and so it's time to frag up some of those guys. We're gonna be fragging up some of our pieces here, as well as some of the named pieces. So I've got quite a few sticks that I'm gonna be cutting up, and I'll kind of show you guys as I'm cutting my process. The way we do it is we use glue and putty, and I'll show you guys that just to give you a little glimpse into how we do that and what I found to give us the best success with getting the Acroporas to actually encrust. It's already 7 o'clock and I have a lot of sticks to frag, and I've not eaten dinner yet, which is fine and okay. So I'm gonna get ready to frag up some of the Acros, and I'll show you guys the process there. Let's get started. All right, guys, so when I said I did not eat dinner, I was actually joking. Of course, I had to get some Chick-fil-A. So I'm gonna eat this real quick and then we will get to fragging. All right, guys, so we have been successfully refueled with that delicious Chick-fil-A. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get all our supplies together. Now, there are a few things that I need when I'm fragging sticks. The first is a towel. This is to dry off the frags as well as my hands. The next thing, and probably one of the most important things, is gloves. I've worked in the industry for about 8 years, and there is very few things that destroy your hands as badly as super glue, especially when you're using it as frequently as me. And the other thing that I do not want to get on my hands is this epoxy. If you have smelt this, you understand why. Not only does it stink, but it also really sticks to your hands, and it's really hard to get off. So we are going to get this. So we've got our epoxy. Next, we are going to get our glue. It is usually in about 3 or 4 different places, but it's always in a different one. So we've located our glue. We've got our glue, our gloves, we've got our towel and our epoxy. The next thing we're gonna need is some frag plugs. We are going to be using the smaller frag plugs for the sticks because obviously they don't have super large bases, so it works really well. And then I'm gonna be grabbing the frag rack. So we'll put the frag rack on, and then we'll get all of that ready. The next thing that we're gonna need is a couple of cups. So I'm gonna grab a few of these cups right here. What I use these for is rinsing the corals off, because after you cut them, they're gonna have some calcium and stuff on them. Basically where the skeleton gets cut up, that you wanna rinse off, and I'll show you guys that obviously once you start. And then the other cup, I like to put a little bit of iodine in, mainly just as a disinfectant. And what that does is it lets the coral sit in that for a minute, disinfect a little bit, and then once I glue it on, the wound should be sealed, so that way no bad stuff can get in there, no bacteria or anything. And with this method, I have a pretty good survival rate. I really don't lose very many frags just because I take my time. Obviously, I've done this once or twice, so I'm pretty confident in this method. Let's put on our gloves. Very important. Usually, we'll end up going through a couple of pairs of these gloves because they do like to tear a little bit. Probably could buy thicker gloves, but honestly, I really don't need them because most of the time I end up only using like 1 or 2 pairs. So it doesn't really make sense to get any more. Something else that can be really good and useful is this glue accelerator spray. This just speeds up the process basically and sets the glue instantly. So you put your glue on, your frag on, and then you can spray that. I really like it when I'm not using the epoxy or the putty. And then that gives me a little bit of a benefit if it's something that's standing up. So something like a mushroom is a very flat base, so it sits very easily. And basically I put the glue on and it's tacky enough to where it'll just stay where I put it. But if I'm doing like a bird's nest or an acro, I need the spray to set because otherwise it'll just flop over because it's too tall. So the only other thing I'm gonna grab before we get started is gonna be a headlamp. Usually I won't really use a headlamp, but it kind of depends. Today I'm fragging over here next to the SPS system. This just makes it a little bit easier for me because I'm cutting right there and I can just grab the colonies out right away. But if I'm fragging somewhere where I have a light like this, I usually won't use the headlamp because that broad light is plenty for me. I have very good eyes, not a flex at all. I just don't really need a ton of light. But for this, as you can see, the headlamp definitely makes a difference. I'm gonna turn on these lights just so I can see what acros I'm actually cutting, and it'll also make it easier for me to cut the corals. So I'm going to try to find my phone, wherever that is. We got it, no worries. And we're gonna go into the Mobius app. We use pretty much all Radions throughout the store. I like them a lot. There are some issues, connectivity, but honestly, recently it's gotten a lot better. Before, it was constant disconnections, and honestly, I was considering switching to something else. I talked to the rep and figured out kind of what my problem was. Basically, some of the lights, the time was getting messed up, and it still happens, which is annoying. But now that I know how to fix that, I really don't have a ton of issues. So we're gonna go into the live demo here and turn it all blue because that's what makes me happy, is seeing all the crazy colors on the sticks. It is very fun, especially if you put on the orange glasses, to just kind of ogle the stick tank. And that is kind of my favorite way to look at it. The other thing that's really fun to do is to cut off the flow up top. And I'll do that in a second, and I'll put on the orange filter so you guys can see. If you like sticks, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. Your jaw is on the ground. If you don't really like sticks, I think you'll still enjoy it. Not as much as the stick heads who are gonna have some sort of out-of-body experience, I hope. Obviously, there's a lot more tanks that are nicer than mine. I have not a ton of corals in here, but the ones I do have, I really enjoy. I've grown out a lot of them. Most of the colonies in here I've had for, I think the last time I put colonies in here was like 5 months ago. And that was after I had them for 2 or 3 months in quarantine. So all of the sticks in here are probably 7 months old to a year and a half about. At our old store, we had a lot of sticks. You guys can check out our older video where I go through a tour of that store. I still will sometimes go back and watch that video because I had so many nice sticks. But unfortunately, we had a chromium issue. And so chromium is a heavy metal, and basically it was in our frag plugs. We no longer order those frag plugs. And while it was fine in a display tank, like all of our display tanks were fine, what would happen is because they were in the frag tanks with so many plugs versus the water volume, that high concentration caused our chromium levels to get out of control. And basically what ended up happening was we had all of our acros die, and I still want to cry about it whenever I think about it to this day. So let's forget about all those thousands of dollars of acros that died, including a bunch of gorgeous colonies like cherry bombs, Walt Disney's. And let's focus on this tank because it is beautiful. And I do have a lot of nice sticks in here that I'll show you guys. I'll point out some of my favorites. let me turn off the flow real quick. So we're fancy now here, and I've actually labeled all of my outlets. So now I can just go through and click them all, because we finally did a little bit of organization. And then the other thing I'm gonna do is guess which one of these is that pump. And I guessed correctly, yay. So now I've got all of the flow turned off here. I'm going to grab my orange filter so you guys can really see the colors, because I'm excited. I'm excited. That's all I'll say, is I'm very excited. Just dropped the orange filter, which is not good. I typically do not recommend dropping the filter because it is glass. Okay, so you see how orange everything is? Honestly, hold on. We're gonna get really crazy with it. I wanna show you guys the ultimate experience. We're going to turn off the overheads. I'm gonna go over here, turn off this light as well, because I want you guys to see the creme de la creme, and I'm even gonna grab some orange glasses for myself. If you guys see some drool, that is completely normal reaction to looking at this tank, because it is absolutely gorgeous, and I love Acroporas, if you can't tell. All right, the review. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, okay, there we go. That is the QCC Watermelon Sugar High. That is definitely one of my favorite Acros, and our most popular Millipora, just because it's got all that color. You can see there the pink and everything. I really like this Millie as well. This one is a little underrated, the QCC Red Velvet Millie. I really like this one because it's got a very deep red, almost pinkish color to it, and those nice green polyps. Obviously the Millies are gonna put out pretty good extension. I think my favorite Acro, and the real stick ones will know, this is the Acrolandia. This piece is actually crazy. Oh my God, and it's not gonna focus on it, which is an absolute bummer. I'm gonna have to stick my hand in the tank and grab this one out for you guys, because it is actually crazy. The colors on this guy, oh my God. And obviously it just closed up because I grabbed it, manhandled it a little bit, but it's got 3 little branches on it, and ooh, I love the tenuouses. The tenuouses are my favorite, and this piece is just absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait until I can actually cut this guy. That is an expensive piece, but that's one that I definitely understand why. I think the stick I've had in here the longest is our QCC Hellboy. This is another Millie. It is definitely a different species though than the other Millies. As you can see, it grows really tight, and that makes it kind of a pain to frag, and why I don't have a ton of frags of it. I usually sell out of these pretty quickly, because they are really nice, that kind of yellow skin with the red polyps, and it has really fantastic extensions, some of the best extensions. Okay, that's a little bit better. I think I can see the colors better now. So this one is also really nice. As you guys can see, it's got that nice gold skin, and it does grow pretty tight, but man, the extension on this guy is absolutely phenomenal. Definitely one of my favorite pieces that we've got. Obviously, I've had that one for a while. I think that one I've had for a year and a half. That's one of the first ones in there. A few other nice tenuouses. This is kind of, this section here, I'll show you guys, is kind of where I keep some of my, most of my named pieces that I get from people. A lot of those are in this section here. That one is a nice creme de la creme. I've got quite a few pieces in here from CCH. If you guys are stick heads, these are the CCH Freak Show, a really nice tenuous with super pink polyps. I've got his CCH Skywalker. You guys can see frags of that on the website. That's a pretty cool one. That's got some really good extension to it. I've also got the CCH Chewbacca's up here. I don't have a ton of pink in the tips like he does, and I think it might be because of some of my micronutrients. I've actually just started really sending out a lot of ICPs and adjusting those. I'm dosing manganese, iron, iodine, a little bit of zinc, and a little bit of nickel. I don't know if I'm doing any nickel in this one, but I'm kind of playing around with some of the traces, seeing what colors I can get. This one is also a really nice tenuous. I'll probably grab this one as well. This is the RRC LV. Oh my God. This might be my favorite tenuous we have. I think I'm gonna cut this guy up a little bit. I think I'm gonna make a couple frags, a couple nice chunky frags for you guys. What do you think about that? Stickheads, go check out the website. These frags might be, give it about a week and these frags should be up. I like to let them heal a little bit, start to encrust. I've got a couple of cherry bombs here that are starting to color up and grow out. The MC Prom Queen or the CC Pink Highlighter. You can see it's developing some of the pink color, not as much as I would like, so I don't really have. I've got 2 frags of it that I fragged a while ago that are like little encrusted bases, but I haven't really gotten too crazy with them. This is probably my favorite tenuous that we grew out. We call this the QCC Mystical Jade Palace. Really good extension, some nice color to it. Those blue tips really make it stand out. I've also got this one. I'd have to check the name on my list for this one, but this tenuous, obviously I just closed it up. It has the best extension out of any of my tenuouses. It's pink. It almost looks kind of like a cherry bomb, but it's got those blue tips with the yellow axial polyps. That one's also really nice. And then over here, more on this right side, I've got some of my Monties. So I've got some Digis. I've got my little Bali Green Slimer farm. That's one that is a classic in the hobby. If you're OG, you know that one. That one is a staple that you really can't find a lot anymore. So anytime I see it like a show, I try to buy I try to buy them out. As you can see, I've got like 12 there. And that's just because I really want to grow them out and get a few colonies going. So what I like to do and what I've found to be the best when it comes to growing out and propagating corals is having a bunch of mini colonies. So as you guys can see, I've done this mostly with my bird's nest farm because they grow so fast. So I'm actually able to put this into practice and kind of test out my theories here. But as you can see, I've got a bunch of these bird's nest colonies. Oh my God, the pumps are coming on. Look away. I've got a bunch of these bird's nest colonies that I grow out, and basically I just take a little frags off of them. I will take a few clippings off, put it back, it'll grow back, take a few clippings. Honestly, the only problem with this method is that with the bird's nest, they just grow too fast, and I end up getting these like colonies where they grow in together. So you can kind of see with these, like I think there's 2 or 3 there that I've combined into one, which is a little annoying. It works really well for growing stuff out. If you're a stickhead, you'll probably appreciate this piece right here. This is an effloensis. So this is a true tabling acropora. And as you can see, it really is just one big fat table. It's a really unique piece that you don't see a lot. I've had 2 frags on the website for a very long time and no one has bought it. I think it's because you're all fake stickheads and you don't appreciate rare corals. No, I'm just kidding. It is a unique piece. It's not the most colorful, obviously. There's some purple varieties. I had never seen this green one before, so I grabbed it. It takes up probably too much space, but I love sticks and I love unique pieces. If you guys have seen some of my other videos, like the store tour, you know I love the stuff like the Cyphastrias. I've got a tank dedicated to Cyphastrias and chalices that I do not sell. Not that I don't try to sell them, it's just people don't really buy them. This is another millie that's really nice. This is our thunderstorm millie. Very similar to like a sunrise millie or a sunset millie or a rainbow millie. But it's obviously got some really nice color on it. As you guys can see, I mean, this piece is fuzzy. Ooh, look at that. Look at that jiggle. And it's got really fantastic color on it. I am gonna be honest with you guys, I did not realize this was gonna become like a 45-minute vlog, but when you get me in front of the stick tank, I gotta be honest with you guys, I have ADHD, and at this point in the day, my medicine's worn off, so I'm just going crazy. This is our Pichu Acro. It's a microcladus, I believe. Really fantastic yellow. One of the only corals you're gonna get like a ton of yellow out of, just because the yellow is so hard to find, especially in like acroporas and stuff. Other than that millie over there and some of the microcladus, you can't find too much yellow. It's usually more of like a green. I've also got ASD rainbow millie, nice piece there. I gotta frag this guy up tonight. Obviously we got some classics like the PC rainbow. The PC rainbow is one of those acros that looks different in everybody's tanks, and it even looks different in my own tanks. I've got this colony over here, which is more pink, especially the tips you can see. And then this colony over here has a lot more of the green and gold in it. I don't know, really weird piece. They're in similar par. I guess this one over here, the smaller colony, is in a little lower par. But yeah, I don't know. If you're into high-end sticks, you might also recognize this guy right here. This is the CCH Icarus. He unfortunately did get stung by one of the other sticks. I think it was the CCH Freak Show, because it got too close, because I have such high flow in this tank. So that did make me very sad. Luckily, this piece does seem to grow pretty fast for me. So now that I've got it moved away, and given it a little distance, hopefully it does grow back. I don't know if these shots are super great, but honestly, looking at these close-ups, they look pretty good. So I'm gonna give you guys another close-up. Oh my God, look at that growth tip. So this is the QCC Hellboy, one of our more popular acros. I would say this and the Watermelon Sugar High are the most popular. This one, just because, like I said, of that like yellow, which is hard to find. Of course, I'm saying it's hard to find, and I'm showing you a bunch of yellow corals, but I promise that I just have these because I'm a collector. So this one is really nice. I'm gonna frag this one up right now. Oh my God, this tip's getting down here is getting some really great color. Getting a little green in it. Interesting. I haven't noticed that before. But honestly, this one is super nice. And I can't wait to cut it up. But as I said, it grows really densely, so that's why I don't have a ton of frags all the time, is because like I'll cut it and then I'll get 3 branches to grow back. Like this section right here was just one tip that shot off, and then I cut it, and now it's like 5 tips, which is like great because you know, it's growing and it's gonna grow bigger, but it's kind of a problem for me when I'm cutting the pieces, because it just makes it harder for me to actually get enough frags, because I want to give, it's not that I don't want to do chunky frags, it's just I'd rather do more frags and be able to sell them for cheaper. Because if I sell a chunky frag, I have to charge a little bit more for it because it's going to take me longer to grow out, right? So a lot of times I'll try to do a little smaller frags, not because I want to like skimp you guys or charge a bunch of money, but because I would prefer for more people to be able to have the coral. So if I can cut 10 frags or 5 frags, if the 10 frags are gonna be, you know, 3/4 inch, but the 5 frags would only be 1 inch, which is typically how it goes, I'd rather do those 10 frags at 3/4 inch, just because 1, sticks grow pretty fast, and 2, I'd rather give more people the opportunity to have the coral and also be able to sell it for a cheaper price. So I normally sell those Hellboys between 60 and 80 bucks, depending on the size. And I think that's pretty reasonable for like a nice stick. Obviously, some of them I have to charge a little bit more for, just because they're more expensive. They cost me more. This one I've been growing out for about 2 years. So I'm not in too deep on that one, but I really would prefer to charge you guys less, even if the frags are a little smaller. But I still try to give chunky frags. And obviously, because I'm growing these out, I know like there's a lot of vendors out there that'll just cut stuff up and sell it right after they get it. But I prefer to let things sit for a while before I cut them up. The last time I added stuff was those green Slimer frags. And I got these about a month ago. They've grown a lot, but the thing is I haven't fragged those yet. So the last time I added a coral that I've actually been cutting off of was a couple of the colonies that I have. And I added those, like I said, like 5 months ago. So I really like to let these guys sit and get acclimated, because then as soon as I cut them, they start growing right away. They're obviously, so I don't know if you guys know, but these systems are connected. So these two SPS frag tanks is what we call them, are connected and plumbed down into the sump under there, connected to here. So the frags do really well in here and start growing pretty quickly because it's all the same water. So they're already acclimated. And then obviously, because I've kept everything in here for so long, they're all nice and happy and hardy. So they're not going to like all of a sudden, you know, disintegrate because the water's different and all this stuff. So let's just go ahead and start cutting. I'm gonna cut the lights back on, and I'll show you guys how I go through and pick out corals to cut, and then how I actually cut them down based on the growth structure and all that, and then how I glue it. And yeah, kind of give you guys an inside look at everything. And yeah. All right, so I've got my saw out. It's got water in it. I've got iodine here. Hold on, let me show you guys. Let me show you guys the setup. Cribs, fragging edition. We've been joined by Mr. Sue, a special guest appearance today, guys. He's camera shy. Don't worry about him. So we've got our saw, our glue. This is our rinse water, our frag plugs, our iodine, our epoxy. I've laid out some of the frag plugs, and one important thing is that you want to dry them. So I make sure they're all dry, and then I'll dry them again, and I'll dry the base. I've also got a Sharpie here. This is because I write which acro it is, because not everyone is a super mega genius like me, and so they can't memorize all of the acros. So they need the numbers. The numbers are for me. I need the numbers. I forget which acro is which, especially because the frags look different than the actual colonies once you frag them. So now that we've got our setup ready to go, I'm gonna grab one of these acros and I'll show you guys how I'm gonna cut it up. So let me move you guys down a little bit and get you the VIP view. All right, bam. There we go. So we're gonna start with that Hellboy millie I was showing you guys. We're gonna get it to close up. The acros usually close up pretty easy, but the millies can be a little harder because they have such long extension. Especially, I turned the lights on for this. They weren't already on. So the feeder tentacles are usually out. But basically, I get the colony out, and then bam, spotlight. And then I'll figure out where I want to cut. You don't want to just start cutting. It's good to find your cuts. So I'll probably cut off some of these nubs here, as well as a couple of them that are growing out here. And basically, when I'm using the glue and the epoxy, what you want to do is you want to cut your frags first and then set the glue and epoxy, because otherwise the epoxy will actually harden before you're ready with your frags. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these, and then I'll show you guys how I do the glue and the epoxy. So I'm gonna cut this guy real quick. Okay, and when I'm cutting acros, I really try to cut from a bunch of different areas. So as you guys can see, I didn't just like cut off this section. I cut a frag from here, I cut a frag from here, 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 here. So I kind of mix it up, and what that does is it makes it so you don't have a bunch of cut pieces in one spot, and it's easier for the acro to grow back. And more importantly, it makes it so the acro grows back evenly, because usually what happens when you cut from an area is it grows back that area quicker. It's like if you get a cut on your skin's gonna grow faster in that area than it does everywhere else. Obviously, if the rest of your skin grew at the same speed as it does when you have a cut, you would have massive flaps of skin and you would be able to fly like a bat, which might be pretty cool, but we don't want that. And especially for the corals, we don't want them growing lopsided. I think that's partially why this colony grows kind of lopsided, is because when it was smaller, I cut it on one side more than the other. So I try to avoid that now with mixing up where the cuts are. And you can even try to create growth by cutting, even if it's not a super big frag, from somewhere aside that doesn't have as much growth, and that'll usually get it to balance out. I've done this with a couple frags, like the CCH Skywalker, and it helped a little bit, but as you can see, it's still pretty lopsided, but it is getting a little bit better. We got this little nub here, this little nub here, starting to grow. But the problem is at the end of the day, unless I take like a super big chunk off, and maybe I will do that just because this one grows pretty quick for me, there's not really gonna be, like I kind of have to frag this side because this is where the frags are. So maybe I'll do like a little reset on this guy and just take a big chunk out of him and sell a little mini colony to somebody. But to try to even this out, but it definitely can help. It's just a little bit harder once it gets going one way to recorrect it. So now that I've got my frags cut, if you guys saw, I rinsed them all in the tank water and then I put them in the iodine. So the next step is we're gonna get the glue ready. I'm gonna try to angle this so you guys can see a little bit better. So basically, the first thing I usually do is get this putty, and I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frags. So what I'll do is I'll get enough putty for about 6 frags. I like to wet my fingers a little bit. This helps to get the putty to not stick as much to my gloves, which is helpful because when it gets real sticky, it can kind of get a little messy. So I'm gonna grab off about this much putty. I'd rather go a little under than over because, as I said, it'll harden pretty quickly if you do too much. So by the time I get to the next frags, it'll probably harden up. And I'm just gonna go through and mush it until all of that green is gone and it's one solid color. It usually ends up being about gray, like that center section was, once we get it all mixed in. So I'm gonna get this all mixed in together. And so now we've got a pretty uniform color here. So I'm ready to put this on the frag plugs. But first what we're gonna do is we're gonna dab up a little bit of glue. I'm getting to the end of my bottle, which is always fun. And there's also a clog at the end. If you guys have used glue bottles before, there's always a clog at the end, but it usually pops off. So we're gonna do a little dab of glue. All these frag plugs are nice and dry. So I'm gonna get 6 plugs ready. And then what I'll do is I'll roll it out into a nice even cylinder. I'll cut it in half and then cut that half into thirds. And so I usually aim for something like around a pea size. Obviously it depends a little bit on the frag size we're cutting, but usually a pea is pretty good. And I like to roll these into little balls, and I'll show you guys why in a second. So once we got these all on their plugs, I'm gonna go ahead and dab up these pieces a little bit with the towel, and then we'll do a little dab of glue, very small. If you do too much, don't worry, you can actually you can touch the frags together. So like, let's say I did a little much on this one, I'll just dab it onto there, and now boom, they both got the perfect amount. So easy. Oh, that's a little too much, but it's fine. And so now we're gonna go ahead and grab our frags. They've been in the iodine for a few minutes. I try not to do it too long, but basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our frags. We're gonna make sure the base is nice and dry. That makes sure that it adheres well to the glue. And boom, we put that guy down, ready to go. Boom, put him down. Put him down. We got a couple more to go. Got that guy. Oh God. And this one. And oh God. We got a lost soldier here, folks. Gotta find him. No man left behind. No frag left behind, folks. Okay, here we go. We got our last guy there, and we'll just squeeze him in. And you can see I push a little bit in here into it. That just makes sure that the frag's nice and stable. Now you could go through with the accelerator, but these frags are gonna hold just fine. And so I'll usually just kind of dab them up in a little bit of water, and that gets them to set perfectly fine. If you don't have any of the accelerator glue, the water will actually cure the glue. So you can just stick it in the water and that'll cure things. And then the next step is I'm gonna grab the Acro again, and I've got a little tag on here. So if you guys can see that, it might be flipped, but it says A17. So I'm gonna write on the glass. I've actually got it already written because I had some of these frags in here. So A17, write that on the glass, and then we're gonna place these frags in here. And we'll let them heal up for a week or two, depending on how they start to look, how they encrust, things like that. But it should be relatively quick just because this guy is super healthy and the millies tend to grow a little bit quicker. So now that we got those frags in, showed you guys how we do all that. I'm probably just gonna set this up on, oh God, I'm blinding you guys, sorry. I'm just gonna set this up on a little time lapse and we'll zip through all of our frags. And when you see me next time, I will be very tired and have a bunch of frags, which is good. Yeah, let's go. All right, so of course the camera battery died while I was fragging. It is about 10 o'clock now and I just finished up everything. So I've got a bunch of frags here that you can't really see too well, but you can see all that fresh putty in there. So we got a bunch of frags. I'd say probably like 50 frags that I made. And now is the fun part and my favorite part of the evening, cleaning up the saw. This part is even better because now my back hurts. Of course, it did not help that yesterday was back day at the gym, but regardless, the saw always messes up my back, especially when I do it over here because it's so low and I have absolutely horrible posture. So hopefully the camera battery doesn't die this time. It better not, because I will not be cleaning the saw for as long as I was fragging those corals. So I'm gonna bring the saw over here, clean it up, and then I get to go home. I've been here for 12 hours. I love owning a fish store and I would never complain about it. It is literally my dream and I love every second of it. The opportunities I have, the corals I'm able to get, everything. It's like having my own tanks here, except I get a bunch of help taking care of them because other people can help me do water changes, clean filter socks, everything, test. So it's a dream come true. There are definitely a lot of late nights. As I said, it's 10 o'clock. I got here at 10 o'clock this morning, been here all day. So I am definitely ready to go home and yeah, let's clean up this saw and leave. Exciting. So basically what we do, the way I clean it up is obviously I take everything out of the sink because we don't want to get it all crummy and dirty from all the skeleton that's in here. I'm gonna rinse out these cups that we used. They're not too dirty. Usually, depending on what I frag, the sticks are one of the cleaner things, but if it's something like mushrooms, a lot of times it'll just be stark white or brown, depending on the kind of rock that I'm cutting through. But with the Acros, it's a pretty easy cleanup. I take off the covers for this saw, rinse them off real quick. Usually I just use my hand because I am very tired by the end of the fragging session. Next thing is the blade. This is a diamond blade on here. We give that a quick rinse. The blade usually doesn't get too dirty, so I don't need to rinse it very well. And then these sponges underneath, you guys can kind of see how caked on all of the gunk is. So I clean these every time. I give them a good spray down with the faucet, and I get a spray down as well myself because the water goes everywhere with these sponges. So spray those guys out, squeeze them out, put them over here. And then finally the saw, I'm gonna wrap up the cord for the saw so that it's not flying everywhere while I'm trying to clean it. And then what I do is dump it all out, and then I'll give it a little spray down with the hose or the faucet, kind of caked on there. And basically I just go through with a little toothbrush and I rinse the whole saw down. Go ahead and let this fill up a couple times and just rinse out, because it will, if it's not rinsed out well enough, the saw, as soon as you put water in it to get ready to frag, it'll just get all murky. And it's like you didn't clean the saw at all. It's like you're using old water, which is not what we want, because not only is it dirty, and obviously we don't want dirty water getting on the coral, but it'll also heat up the blade more. It doesn't cool the blade as well when it's all gunky. And so that leaves us with another problem, because then when the blade gets hot, obviously it's not going to perform as well. It's not going to cut as easily. It can degrade the blade and even cause it to snap, which we definitely do not want, because it's not fun when it snaps. And these blades are expensive. They are anywhere from like 30 to 50 bucks and even more sometimes. So definitely don't want it to snap, and I try to take really good care of the saw because of that. So now that we've got it rinsed, I'm gonna check, make sure the backside is all clean. Again, just because it collects in a lot of these areas. And then I'm gonna fill it up probably 2 more times just to make sure it's all clean in there. While we do that, we're gonna put up all of our other stuff, put that dirty towel up, put away our Sharpie. The frag rack goes here in the sink. And then the last thing we clean out is the tub that we keep it in. So I'm gonna rinse that out once that's done. In the meantime, I'm gonna wipe off this cart. It doesn't get super dirty, but it does get kind of wet. And now our saw is nice and clean. The water is running clear. And that's usually what I look for, is I just keep filling it up until the water runs clear. We'll put this down here for right now. And now I'm gonna rinse out this tray that we keep it in. Just go through. It doesn't need a super intense cleaning, so we'll just wipe it down real quick. Then we put our saw back in that bin, as well as all of our parts for the saw. Then we're gonna spray out the sink, just because we don't want any of that gunk left over in here, because then it gets everything else dirty. So we got that sprayed out, and then we're gonna put everything back the way we found it. Leave no trace, just like the Boy Scouts, of course. We'll make sure everything's all nice and clean, so I don't get yelled at tomorrow when people come in and it's a mess. I wanna make sure it's nice and clean for them and myself, because I, of course, will be here tomorrow morning, bright and early. Very exciting. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Kind of different style. I think at this point the video is like an hour-and-a-half long. I don't know how much I'm gonna cut of this video, what it's gonna look like. Just wanted to try something a little different. I think I'll probably start doing more of this style video where I just kind of talk. Kind of like a frag box video. I really enjoy March's content, so I think I'll start making some videos like this every once in a while. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you guys enjoy this style, if you want me to go back to the other stuff, that's fine. I'll go back to that. This is kind of a spur of the moment thing. I was staying here late and just wanted to show you guys kind of what it's like in my life. Everything I do for the fragging. Kind of show you guys a little bit of how we frag. I'll probably do a more in-depth video on how we frag acropore in particular. So let me know if you guys are interested in that, and I will definitely do that. Make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date to all of our content, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. You can leave a dislike if you didn't. I can see those, other people can't, so I'll feel better about myself. But I have nothing else to say, so I'll see you guys in the next one.